Are you guilty of burying yourself in work so much so that you don't go anywhere, so that you don't have to deal with the emotion or the fear around being rejected, around someone saying, no, thank you? We all are guilty of having certain expectations, but then when they don't work out exactly the way that we want them to, what happens to us? Hey girl, hey, welcome back to another episode of The Love Lens. Come on with it. Hey. So if you don't know, I'm Coach Kaz, America's go-to love doctor, and I come to you here each and every week, either solo or with a special guest, to really help you to shift your lens on love. So I want you to take a moment right now to subscribe and share and commit to watching this entire episode. I'm going to say go ahead and binge watch the episodes before this, because at the end of the day, repetition is key. So if you've seen one episode, you must watch them all. Okay. So today we're talking about love blocks. But before we get into that, we have a live event coming up in October 4th through the 6th in sunny South Florida called Wanted Woman Live. And you want to absolutely attend this event. So I'm going to say go ahead and register right now using the code LOVELENS, and you'll see the special $250 off that we have for you. Yes. Come on. Can't say that sis never gave you something. All right. And if you'd like to check out our info session, we have one coming up on September 3rd virtually. So go ahead, go to my IG. You'll see all the information. All right. Cool. So what are we talking about today? So I see something that is a theme amongst many professional women, right? Amongst many professional women. And what that is being blocked in your love life. Have you ever felt blocked, like you continuously are choosing the wrong person over and over and over again? And maybe a part of you is like, when do I get to break through what's been holding me back from real love? Oh, I'm searching for that real love. I know you are, sis, right? So if you've been feeling stuck, if you've been feeling confused, if you feel like there's something in your way of finding your person, then this is the episode for you. Today, we're talking about the 4 common love blocks. Go ahead and drop a number 4. Whether you're watching live or the replay or listening in, drop a number 4, right? So 4 common love blocks that could be stopping you from meeting your Mr. Right. And most importantly, how to overcome them. So grab a pen and a paper, because we're going to get into it. Let's do this. Okay. All right. So number 1, the first big love block is the fear of rejection. Ooh, wait, let me sip on my water, girl. I know. It's not that simple, is it? One thing I know is that men, not to say that they're immune to the fear of rejection, but they overcome it better because they get rejected so often, right? But as women, we absolutely fear it. So I want you to think about it, right? That gut-wrenching feeling that if you really open up, you'll get rejected or abandoned. It's one of the most common love blocks, and it makes us put up walls altogether. I remember I was working at my 9-to-5, right? And back when I was working a 9-to-5, and I had a coworker, and I really wish that I kept this drawing. He created a picture of me and put this circle around me of bricks that made a wall. And he said, "This is you. This is you." All the walls, right? How is anyone ever going to get in if you only have walls around you? So you might be dealing with this block and find yourself holding back in relationships. So never getting close to people, or maybe you walk away first, or at the first sight of foolishness, right? First sight of conflict, you're like, all right, it's time to go, right? So one of my clients, let's call her Danielle, right? She had been ghosted a few times and developed a fear of putting herself in situations to meet men. And she didn't realize that she was rejecting others first as a way of like protecting herself. So once we worked on that, sis found herself open to dating again. Are you guilty of burying yourself in work so much so that you don't go anywhere, so that you don't have to deal with the emotion or the fear around being rejected, around someone saying, no, thank you? To overcome this block, you have to first get comfortable. Drop comfortable, right? Comfortable with the idea that rejection is just a part of life. Let me tell you, I am promoting the most amazing event I've ever put on, yet and still I face rejection, but I'm pushing through that rejection because there are women that are like, this is exactly what I needed. I messaged a woman the other day. Well, actually, she messaged me about my ultimate couples retreat and how she couldn't go because she was going through a divorce. And I was like, well, when did I send that message to you? I sent it in 2019, y'all. I said, sis, that's not your event. This is your event. And she signed up on the spot for Wanted Woman Live because she understood the assignment. She understood how important it was for her to be in the room, right? So she's coming from the Caribbean here to sunny South Florida to be a part of something really special, even though she's in a season that feels like rejection. I invite you to open up just a little bit more. Now, I have curated a very special practice ground at Wanted Woman Live, but if you want to practice by yourself, you could do that too. But I'm going to tell you right now, you want to be there. All right. So let's keep it moving. So block number 2 is perfectionism. Ooh, wait. Have you ever been guilty? Now, I know I have, right? Have you ever been guilty of saying, I just need this to go exactly like so? And if it doesn't, or maybe you plan out your relationship, this person that you just met, have you ever thought of yourself in the dress without an actual contender, or you just met a prospect, right? Like, we all are guilty of having certain expectations, but then when they don't work out exactly the way that we want them to, what happens to us? Is it a self-fulfilling prophecy? Do we get stuck in an analysis paralysis because the things have to be perfect, or the man has to be perfect, or you have to be perfect? I've worked with women that have done different medical procedures and, to feel better about themselves. But is there an underlying situation that they're just trying to be good enough? Ooh, it's tough, right? It's really tough. So block number 2 is perfectionism. So block number 1 was what? Fear of rejection. Block number 2 is perfectionism. So this is the one that disguises itself as a strength. So you tell yourself, I don't need everything in my life together before I can. No, not you don't need, you do need. So perfectionism looks like I need everything in my life to be on the straight and narrow before I go down this road. I won't settle for anyone less than perfect, right? Does any of this sound familiar? Perfectionism shows up as we nitpick every potential partner to death. Or we think we're not ready for love until we hit that certain milestone, that next career goal, that next weight loss goal, that next promotion, money-making situation, right? Like, oh, wait till I do insert blank, right? So I had a client that she was nitpicking a man that she went on a date with, and she was just upset that he kept moving tables, right? So she was just like, oh, this man is too much. He kept moving the table. But when we started to look at why he moved the table, oh, because they were next to loud people, because they were next to smokers, because they were next to the bathroom, so literally he was trying to create an amazing environment for her. So I encouraged her to continue the course, and that to this day, this woman is married. I want to say they're about 4 years in, and she had daughters from before, widowed before, and divorced, right? So it's like sometimes we create all of these self-limiting beliefs. We create these imaginary situations of why things won't work out, and a lot of times it's because we're trying to make it perfect. Or maybe we feel like we're not enough. It's multi-layered out here, y'all. So to overcome this perfectionism, you have to let go of the idea that love only happens when everything's perfect. That love only happens when everything is perfect. Have you ever been guilty of that? I want you to really sit with that. Take a deep breath. Starting to embrace your imperfections in yourself and others will help you not only progress, but excel in your relationships. Recently, I took 6, 7, it was 8 of us all together. So 8 of us went to Bali, right? And you don't have to be single. You don't have to be married. You could be everything in between, right? So go to wantedwomanretreat.com to join us next year in Tanzania and Zanzibar. Hey, we're going to have a good time, right? So this past year, we went to Bali, and Bali was an amazing time. So where was I going with this? Ooh, I had such a good time. Oh, so one of the intentions that our lady set, Kanika, and this is on my Instagram, she said, I embrace my imperfections. And those are the things I work on to love so that I love myself even more. And I was just like, that's really powerful, because sometimes, you might be tugging at your belly or looking at your chin hairs or saying to yourself, your hair's not growing right. And you say, well, why couldn't it blank? Instead, she's saying, you know what? The reason why I love this pudge, the reason why I love my hair, the reason why I love this chin hairs, right? So literally looking for reasons to love on the areas that she had deemed unlovable. How can you start to work on that in and of yourself? The parts that you continuously are feeling have to be perfect. I invite you to start looking at that and say, you know what? God made me perfect just the way that I am. And I'm seeking to be with someone that accepts me for me. But first, I have to accept me for me. He doesn't have to be perfect. Now, something that is so sad, I feel like life has become like a choose your own adventure, right? A choose your own adventure. If you turn to this page and you choose this ending, you'll go this way and you might jump off a cliff, right? Into the ocean and happily swim away, right? Or you might go this way and jump off a cliff and get eaten by sharks, right? It's just, life is a choose your own adventure book. Those are one of my favorite books growing up. But when I look at how life starts to play out, it's just like, man, this is rough. You just never know what's going to happen. I remember having a client and she was really scared to date a man that was, about 10, 15 years older than her. She's like, Coach Cass, I don't know, he's older. But when I started to look at it, this was a man that exercised, that ate right, that was full of energy. I said, give this man a chance. And the other contender was a guy that she knew from college, a guy that, was a real smooth talker, but nothing was really sparking off. So does she wait for that man to realize her worth and who she is and how amazing she is? Or does she go forth with the man that's excited to see her, that the only apprehension she had was age? And most times when it comes to age, people just don't want to take care of someone else, right? That's the number one thing I hear. It's like, oh, well, Coach Cass, what if they have a diaper? What if this? What if that? It's a real fear that people have, like in terms of becoming a caregiver for someone too early in their lives, right? So she stepped through door number 2, right? So door number 1 was the guy she'd known so long. And door number 2 was this guy that she just met that was really excited about her. And she was excited about him. But the only caveat was his age. They spent time together. They got to know each other. She and I talked it through, making sure she wasn't self-sabotaging. And he married her. And she married him. And they chose each other. Listen, have you ever struggled when it comes to conversations on dates? Maybe a first date or even your 50th date. One thing I know is that we need to have more meaningful conversations. And that's why I created the Love Deck. 60 questions to ask before choosing the one, but really to deepen your conversations. So whether it's with that guy that you're dating or with your mom or your close girlfriends, what I know is we got to speak more to the heart of our people. Grab your Love Deck today. It's a great gift for others, and you could get it right now in our Amazon store. Pick up yours. One side is affirmations. The other side is dating conversations. Get yours today. Pick up the Love Deck. They just came up on their 5th or 6th wedding anniversary. Now, unfortunately, door number 1, I just saw on social media, he just passed away. From a medical condition, cancer, right? So sometimes we're edging people out with things they can't control, like age. But you sync together, it's beautiful, but it's just not perfect because the age isn't right. And we say no thank you to that person just because of age. And we choose the one that's in our age range, yet and still, they can have medical conditions and they too can be gone too soon. You cannot predict the future, and it's not always perfect. So my invitation to you is to really start to listen to what God is saying to you, what I'm saying to you. And if you want assistance in this process, if you want a community to support you in this process, we have the Real Love Network. It's a beautiful place where you're welcome. My vibe is my tribe. So if you're good vibe, sis, come on in, right? So, all right. So block number 3. So now with block number 3, and I want to make sure that I got my notes together, right? My notes together. Okay. So, okay, with block number 3 is the fear of vulnerability. Say what now? That's the feeling that if you let someone see the real you, they may not stick around. It's scary to be vulnerable because it means taking off your armor we wear that protects ourselves, right? So you're taking off your armor and being vulnerable. Now, what I know is sometimes we're a little bit too quick to lay down with people before really understanding the matters of their heart and our heart, right? Bearing our all, but still we can't bear our heart. What is this? That don't make no sense, sis, right? So how it shows up, if you're afraid of vulnerability, you might find yourself putting on a front or only showing the best parts of you. You keep your guard up because it feels safer than letting someone in and getting potentially hurt. Are you guilty? I remember on Andy and I's first date, we had a 5-hour date and we talked about everything. I was super vulnerable about what I had been through. I let him know that, I could have trust issues because of what I had been through. And because I was vulnerable enough to share, as we dated, he became more and more transparent about who he was and what he was up to and who was in his world. Because he understood. He understood. Yeah. So I remember a woman in our Real Love Network who was super scared to be vulnerable. And she had to work on that femininity thing all the time. Listen, I'm not saying I'm an expert in femininity. We all struggle, especially when you got goals and things to do and you got the make it happen type of attitude. I get it. But what we worked on around vulnerability is being able to share her soul with a man, being able to share her fears with a man, being able to be vulnerable with a man. And the man she chose to do that with married her, over 50, with kids, as a VP, right? So she had all the busy life and all the things that she had that many people would count as, oh no, that edges her out. No. Because of her being authentic with who she was, he was attracted to that. Now, how do you make vulnerability and a strength? Is you have to stop seeing it as a weakness. Now, I know in all the card games, they say don't show your cards. At work, they say don't share your plans. You know, there's so many things that have us looking with one eye over at folks like, can I trust you? Are you really here for me? But I really feel like that happens over time. And you just take note. So instead of being on guard, you take note. You be a good student of the relationship, of the interactions, of the consistent communication with this person to see. Practice opening up slowly. Slowly. What can you trust them with? Maybe sharing something personal on your next date, even if it feels uncomfortable. Now, I do have a child that will share uncomfortable things for me. So we went to church. We went to dinner with some folks from church during the summer. Our church has a thing called Koinonia, where they kind of want you to pick some folks out of the crowd and sit down with them to dinner, right? They believe that the way to eradicate racism is to sit across the table and break bread with people that aren't like you, right? So we went to dinner as a family, me, my husband, my daughter, with a couple that got married last summer. We went to their wedding. She's 71, he's 81, right? And to hear their stories of travel and meeting family and where they are in their lives now at this point, it's just beautiful. But they had to be vulnerable enough to sit down to dinner with us and to share what's going on in their lives and how they're taking their times, getting to know each other even better, seeing different family members, how they're eating. You know, it's just like, it was just a little bit below the surface, right? A little bit below the surface. So can you go a little bit below the surface? Practice. Now we have a practice ground coming up at Wanted Woman Live. Perfect place for you to practice. Hello? I'm going to tell you right now, it's a good time and you should join us, period. We have this event in October that changes women's lives. So, okay, number 4, come on. So what did we do? Fear of rejection, perfectionism, fear of vulnerability, and then we have the Superwoman syndrome. I'm not your superwoman. Pew, pew, pew. So last but not least, what I like to call the Superwoman syndrome, you know who you are, right? Is you're the woman who thinks she has to do everything on her own. And asking for help is a sign of weakness. I'm going to tell you right now that seeing all these things as a sign of weakness is not keeping you strong. It's keeping you burdened. It is keeping you burdened. And that is not helpful to your soul or to your spirit, right? How does this show up? This block shows up when we refuse to be vulnerable with others, especially in relationships. We believe that we're so successful and independent that we don't need anyone. But girl, like being strong doesn't mean you have to do life or love alone. Right? how does this really show up? I remember having a client that was a single mom, and she was wondering where in the world she was going to get the time to help or to date, because she didn't have the help. She was also a caretaker for her mother. And, we had to really review her budget and say, you know what, sis? Do you wait until your parent passes to live your life? We can't do that. We cannot do that, right? Your parents may live until they're 90 or 100. So you're there at 70 or even 80 waiting for what? You can't let society or other family members shame you. You cannot let other people who do not help you shame you. So my invitation is for you to start to look at the resources around you and what you can outsource in order to make time for love. Loving you is easy 'cause you're beautiful. Doobie doobie doo doo. Right? So I want you to really think about this. True partnership is about balance, not just doing all the heavy lifting. Where in your life can a man see himself fitting? Where can he see himself invited? Can you invite a man into your life? And I'm not talking about into your bedroom. I'm talking about into your life. Where does he fit? Right now, my office is a mess. Okay, it's a mess. But I'll tell you something. My husband still sat down today across from me in a chair. I made sure to have a chair here that he can feel invited to my space. How do you break this block? Practice allowing others to support you, even in small ways. Maybe it's letting them plan a date, plan something for you, ask for something, ask for help with something at home, at work, with your car. This is not just for today. I'm talking about in general. Where can you start to ask for help? Remember, being open to receiving doesn't take away from your strength. It actually enhances it. Oh, so we have fear of rejection, perfectionism. Get my life together. The Superwoman syndrome and the fear of vulnerability. These are all things that I battle with, right? It doesn't necessarily just go away. I'm not going to tell you that these things go away, but in spite of, do anyway. Start to tackle these love blocks. Think of them as strengths and not weaknesses. Your love doesn't require perfection. It requires openness, vulnerability, and the courage of letting go of what's holding you back. Something is holding you back from love. And more than likely, it sits with fear. So my invitation is to start to face your fears. Join me at Wanted Woman Live this coming October, where we're going to deep dive into how do you let go of your past, face your fears, and have fun with this thing called love, all in a beautiful environment. Sunny South Florida. Rain or shine, we're going to have a good time, sis. Join me, okay? I'm here for you. I love you. And until next time, make sure to subscribe. Rewatch this episode. Watch some other episodes. Share with a friend, okay? And I'll see you next week on The Love Lens. Bye, sis.
So we are trying out the love deck. So let's just do random. I like this one. I like that. That one.
Wanted Woman love deck. Y'all, this about to be good. So we played with these ones already and they were good. They was like right on the money. They was good. On one side, it has affirmations. On the other side, it has like a question. So we got to answer the question. So he gonna read the affirmation part And then on the other side, it's going to have a question.
The affirmation part is I embrace. Oh, wow.
That's a good one.
I have these wanted woman cards from Coach Cass, our good dear friend, and she made these wanted woman cards. And I am a wanted woman by you.
Let's get that right.
Right,
Yeah.
right. So we're gonna read, it's like a little question and answer.
Okay.
All right, so
good.
this is one of her cards. It says, what is your favorite family tradition?
Our family tradition, our favorite family tradition is to go to church on Sunday.
That's true.
What is your favorite dance move?
My favorite, like right now, my favorite dance move?
Yeah.
All right.
Let's see. Show me what you're working with.
All right, let me show you. All right. Ow. Ow. Yeah.
That is the favorite
Ah,
one.
that's okay. You've been seeing this forever, right? Ow. So yeah, you probably have. Yeah, that was the move that caught your attention. What you talking about?